So I think, like most of us, when I heard about the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I immediately thought about what a loss to our nation, and really looking at the loss to the impact that she had on women's rights. But also, when you think about it, it's not really a loss, right? I know her family is mourning her passing, but I think we serve her legacy right by spending some time to think about all the wonderful contributions that she made over the course of her lifetime and later on in her life as a Supreme Court justice. But as a district, it's important for us to not let the moment pass where we lose sight of the important contributions she makes, because I have no doubt that we are nurturing the next RBG in our district and our community. So RBG is so important to thinking about K-12 education, just given the work that she did as a Supreme Court justice around equity, gender equity, Title IX, and how that impact K-12 schools. Prior to becoming a Supreme Court justice, she was a trailblazer in her own right as it relates to women's justice by being one of the co-founders of the ACLU's Women's Rights Project in the 70s. And for her to advance policy and legislation for women's rights during that time was so important, because I would not be sitting here as a woman today, particularly as a woman of color today, had it not been for the path that she set in the early 70s and throughout the course of her career. So even though I'm not an attorney, it is important for us to honor, to look back and to reflect on the wonderful legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to look at and uplift all of the wonderful things and contributions she's made, particularly as it relates to education. And so we honor her today. If you want to learn more about the wonderful contributions that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has made to our nation, I encourage you to visit the ACLU website at www.aclu.org. So National Hispanic Heritage Month started last week on September 15th and runs through the middle of October on October 15th. And like other months, like Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month is a time for us to look back at the contributions and the rich heritage and history of Hispanics and Latinos in the United States. It's important for us to spend some time over the course of Hispanic Heritage Month to think about the Hispanic legacy here in Northeast Ohio. So although the state of Ohio only has about a 4% population, 4% Hispanic population, nonetheless, their imprint is still extremely important in thinking about the broader landscape of diversity, equity, and inclusion here in our community, and of course also in our district. It's important to note here that the world in which we live in is not simply black and white. So when we're thinking about equity and inclusion, we need to be especially inclusive of all underrepresented groups, particularly the Hispanic population, which is now the largest underrepresented minority group in the United States. So there's lots of great resources if you want to learn more about Hispanic Heritage Month. The U.S. government has a wonderful website related to the history of National Hispanic Heritage Month. The Pew Research Center has all kinds of interesting fact sheets and statistics and data around the Hispanic and Latino subgroup. So you've heard the term Hispanic and Latino and recognize that they're interchangeable, but have you heard or used the term Latinx? So Latinx is a gender-neutral, all-encompassing term that is not necessarily replacing Hispanic and Latino, but is providing another way to describe the group in the United States. And Latinx is a term today that is more readily used by younger people, so folks under the age of 25 compared to older counterparts. It is important because it is growing in popularity, so it is important for us to mention, because who knows, 10 years from now, Latinx could be the more predominant term compared to Hispanic or Latino. On March 13th of this year, Breonna Taylor was murdered in her home while she slept. She was killed by police officers who were issuing a no-knock warrant on the wrong house. On September 23rd of this year, those police officers were not formally charged or indicted with her murder. September 23rd was also the 55th anniversary of the acquittal of the men who murdered Emmett Till. It is important for us to remember Breonna Taylor, to say her name and the other names like George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and the countless others who have lost their lives over the past several years and also throughout American history to racial injustice and violence. Let us not forget Breonna, and let us not forget the importance of this fight for social justice.